Yeah, always know your worth. It's so important, right? I mean, I'm trying to teach my kids that right now. I've got some young kids, and I think the hardest thing for a kid or for an adult or any stage in life is, like look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself how good you are and believe it. And I think it's really important. So I've been in recruiting for a while, coming up to about 17 years, not that I'm counting. And I set up my own recruiting firm. We're a global boutique search firm called Bentley Lewis, and I set that up 13 years ago. I'm based in London, and we have team members in the US, Europe, and India, as I was just saying to you, and obviously in the UK as well. And we're now a fully remote exec search firm, so we have no physical office anymore, which is interesting. And we're doing board level search, board level -1 or 2, so senior leadership roles, exec recruiting, however you want to describe it. And yeah, super good fun. So I've always wanted to build my own company, and before starting Bentley Lewis and before getting into recruiting, I'd done a few things before. I went to university and did chemistry. I worked in fashion and manufacturing. I had my own business, and then I ended up in recruiting. And after about 4.5 to 5 years of working for someone else, I thought I was quite good at it. And although you never quite know. And I wanted to start my own firm. And the reason I wanted to start my own firm was there was this kind of driver in me of just like, I really wanted to do a business. Like I always wanted to. And I saw my cousin build a business, maybe a little bit, like family history and there's different things. It's like kind of, I don't know if anyone here is listening who started a business and stuff, you just get that feeling that you just have to try. And so in the UK, where I live, sometimes it's a bit embarrassing to fail here, and it stops a lot of people doing stuff. And I've got American family, and America's quite entrepreneurial, and they're like, Lewis, what's the worst that can happen? And you're like, get another job? So I eventually decided to start. I read a few different books. One's called The E-Myth Revisited, if anyone is planning on starting something that's worth reading. And I kicked off, and the vision for me was I wanted to build a company where people would be proud to work in, where they can learn and develop and do the best work of their lives, and that for me is the big thing. It's, like people choose to spend their lives with me, and you work more than anything, right? Like you're spending more time with your colleagues than you do with your family and all of that. And I just wanted to build somewhere where people would really enjoy working, and that was it. Gap in the market, not really. There's so many recruiting firms around the world. We're all doing similar things, but I think the big difference with different recruiting firms or a services business of whatever type is the people within them, right? Like the experience you have with us. And so for me, like it's really important that the people have excellent experiences with us, because that means that we're successful, we'll get repeat business, repeat clients, and you're managing people's careers and their lives, and it's important, and you should do it with with care and respect, and so they've been the things that I've focused on as I've built. Yeah. So I've been recruiting for a while, right? And then about 5 or 6 years ago, for me, my philosophy on building a business is content is really key to it now, right? So I set up a podcast called Don't Take Out Your Phone about 5 or 6 years ago. And the reason it was called Don't Take Out Your Phone is because, when you go and speak with people and you go out for a drink with friends, everyone's on their phone, right? So it's like, don't take out your phone, let's speak. And obviously the irony is you have to listen to the podcast on your phone. So that was Don't Take Out Your Phone. The reason I did a podcast back then was because right now, if you're not doing content, you're like leaving money on the table. Like you just have to do it, like you guys are doing, right? Like everyone should be doing. And the point is, it should be free educational content, right, that adds value to your audience and stuff. So, clearly loads of people do it now. Surprisingly, many don't. And so back then it was like, so it was like 6 years ago we kicked off, and I was interviewing CEOs and business leaders on their journey and their story and so forth. And then we hired our first chief marketing officer called Amira Qureshi. She joined about 5 years ago. And we also do one called the Recruitment Show, and that is essentially our main one now. And it's everything about work, recruiting, future of work, and so forth. And it's great fun. I love doing podcasts. Yeah. So the Recruitment Show, obviously we're a recruiting firm. And so I meet so many people, whether it's CEOs, HR directors, senior leaders and stuff like that. So we've really focused in on recruiting content. And that's our big thing. So it's anything around work, personal development, future of work, hiring, etc., etc. So it's all focused on that. And that is our main podcast show. It's called the Recruitment Show. It's great fun. I don't know if I can say who my favorite guest is, because it would be a little bit unfair. but there's been some fabulous ones. I mean, one guest I really liked was Stacey Shearer. She was head of talent at Apple in Cupertino, and we did a really interesting one on culture. Because pre-COVID, companies thought good culture was having free snacks on a foosball table in the office. Now not so much. And we're writing a book together actually on recruiting. So watch this space. Our book will be out in September or October. But there's some great folks around, and I love speaking with people about it. And it's nice to get different perspectives on the topics in our industry. Yeah, always know your worth. It's so important, right? I mean, I'm trying to teach my kids that right now. I've got some young kids, and I think the hardest thing for a kid or for an adult or any stage in life is, like look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself how good you are and believe it. And I think it's really important, and it stands you in great stead, right? It's easy to say, I know it's hard to do, but if you know your worth and you know your value, then you can go advocate for yourself, right? Like you can go put yourself forward for that promotion, you can go for that job that's a step above, you'll be more confident to take on tasks. You can go to your boss and say, like, what keeps you up at night? Give me those things, I'll do it for you. They're the kind of things that get people ahead. So really, really important to know your worth, and tell yourself every day in the mirror, I do that. Just look at yourself and be like, yeah, I am. I'm the best. It's important, like your self-talk, because you listen to yourself the most, right? Like you're in your own head talking. And, a lot of people I meet, they're like, oh, I'm not sure I'm quite good enough for, or, it's like I'm not sure I'm good enough for whatever it might be, for the next promotion, for that job. Get that out of your head and replace I'm not good enough with I am good enough, and watch what happens. And it's incredible. So the competitive thing, really important. So it's really, doing your due diligence before you join somewhere. Because I think if you look at the last year, there's been a lot of layoffs, certainly in tech, right? And people got sucked into hey, we're going to give you some shares and we're going to pay you this money and whatever. And people didn't do their due diligence on, could it be what their financials are, what their funding is, who the people are that they're joining. Like really important to do your due diligence, because again, you're spending more time with them than anyone else. So when you're interviewing and you're choosing to join somewhere, check out the company, the financials, jump on LinkedIn, check out who you're interviewing with, who's your leader. Often companies ask for like 2 or 3 references for a candidate. Ask the line manager or the hiring manager for references about them. Go speak to some people that have worked with them in the past, find out what they're like. So many people leave, like so many people are unhappy because their manager's a nightmare or the culture's dreadful. There's all of this stuff, and you need to be happy in a job. So like take your time to look through. Don't get sucked in by the brand name. Don't get sucked in by like, hey, we've just raised like 10 million or 2 million. Great, like loads of companies have. So what? So think about what's important to you, right? And a lot of the time the work is the work, right? You're doing whatever you might be doing, I don't know, software developer or something, but who you do it with really matters. So make sure you do your due diligence on the people that you're meeting, and like jump on Glassdoor, check out the reviews. Like, there's just no excuse now. So really important. Well, let me tell you, no one grows up saying they want to be a recruitment consultant. That's cool, right? I mean, go down to school like, hey, do you want to be? I was like, never grown up like, hey, I want to be a recruitment consultant. And I think everyone, like, no one you speak with will say like, yeah, So I think it's something that you end up evolving into. So for me personally, I think it's great to try different stuff in life. Right, like too much early on, people are asking people to specialize in things, and we're going to be living maybe 100 years. You're going to end up having 3-4 careers in your life. So for me, early on, I did uni, didn't want to do chemistry afterwards. My last year of chemistry was in the lab with my headphones on, and no one spoke to me, and I was like, not for me. So I set up my own fashion business and started doing stuff. And my friend, so about 5 or 6 years after university, my friend was in recruitment, and he was like, Lewis, you've got to come and try this. And I was at the stage where I wanted to do something else, and I was like, well, what's it like? Isn't it a little bit, salesy and aggressive? And so he's like, man, no, it's great. It's all about people. You get to have conversations all day, and you love that. And so actually, for me, the thing that I get most out of it is I love meeting people. I love conversations. I love making friends. I love sales and marketing and business and stuff like that. And so those things were like really interesting. And I then went to see a few firms. I met at a small firm. There were like 6 people at the time, and I joined and I really liked it. And I stayed for 5 years, then set up on my own. I love it just as much now as I did. In fact, actually, I love it even more now. Like, I'm just loving it even more because I get so much energy from conversations. Like, I really like the people bit, and our business is about people, right? Like, recruiting is about people. My business I'm creating is about people, and it's just great. And the thing in our industry is that too many recruiters move too often, like way too often. Like, the amount of CVs I get from recruiters wanting to join, and then it's like 1 year, 1.5 years, 1 year. And I know there's context behind it, right? So it might not be your fault that you're moving a lot. So don't get me wrong. But if you're moving just because someone's offered you a little bit more money, or like with recruiting, there's real value in staying because you build your network over time. The job gets better and better the longer you're in it, right? Like Lewis, me in my 20s was pretty good. Me in my 30s was really good. Me in my 40s now, I'm just refining how good I was in my 30s, and God help everyone in my 50s. And then me in my 60s, oh my God, because you're just meeting more people, right? So now I can be like, oh, I've worked with this client for the last 20 years, 15 years. I've known this person for like 12 years or 50. And that's really when you start to get real value. Like, it's really good. So my key message is just stay in the game. If you're in the game for a long period of time and you're patient, everything will start to get good for you. Like, you'll earn more, you'll have better quality relationships and all of that kind of stuff. So for me, I really focus on this heavily. So for me, like, the 3 key things, I treat myself like a professional athlete. So I eat well, right? Like, really focus on nutrition, like good quality food. I do a lot of exercise, which I'll tell you about now, and then I try and sleep like 7 to 8 hours a day. So nutrition, exercise, and sleep. 3 things, like, just and remember, just from what I've described before, I'm planning on being in the game for a long time, and I've been in it for a while now, and I want to be in it for a long time because I love it. So I can only do that if I'm treating myself well, and I have energy, and I've got good focus, and I'm happy, and all this stuff. So I do a lot of that. My exercise, I put in the diary like it's the most important meeting of the day, right? It doesn't move. Like my podcast with you, important meeting, not coming out the diary. My exercise is in there. My team can see it. Hopefully encourages my team to do the same thing. And it's in there. I do CrossFit and I just do a lot of it. I do about 6 days a week of exercise, and it's incredible. It's great for body and mind. Like it's really meditative. Whether it's running or weightlifting or whatever one chooses to do, you just don't think about anything else apart from lifting up that weight or whatever. Some people do mindfulness, stuff like that. Whatever works for you, right? But doing something like that is really important. And there's probably nothing I do harder in the day than trying to like do a hard workout. Like it's good to do hard stuff. It depends on which. I think it depends on which level of the market. I think there's a lot of like contingent, like boiler room style recruitment firms that probably haven't changed. I spoke to a guy the other day. He's working in a big, like, you know, high street contingent recruiter, and the stories he was telling me, I mean, like, really? Hold on, this is like 2023, not like 1980. You know, so this, I think there's still a lot of like very hardcore KPI driven boiler room style environments. I'll never forget a friend of mine joined a big recruitment firm, and they I mean, man, used to take your chair away. They used to take your chair away, sellotape the phone to your head if you didn't make enough phone calls. You know, like some proper stuff like that back in the day. I don't know if that quite happens now. But it's still like there's some quite hardcore stuff. I think in other firms, like emotional intelligence and human skills, for me, are the real thing that's going to stand you in good stead. Like the difference that makes a difference for me is the human skills. The AI will do AI stuff, you know, like all of these different, like your recruit CRM or whatever, all of these things. They've got AI, they'll help you source, they'll help you arrange interviews, you know, they'll help automate your work and stuff. But ultimately freeing you up to do the human stuff, right? And so for me, it's like so important. Like the best recruiters I know are empathetic and just great with people, and that's what you want to work on. Yeah. Oh, massive. I mean, I use it every day. Like I use ChatGPT or Jasper, so like for content, for research. Templates. I mean, just review. It can even like summarize CV. I mean, there's so many things, right? You can use it for. Then with something like Zapier. If anyone knows Zapier, you can connect different stuff. So you can connect like your AI to your email, and just so many like use cases. And then AI within recruitment tech, right? Like you guys, I think probably have something. LinkedIn. I mean, you know, it's been around for a while, right? These algorithms and like smart sourcing, scheduling, you know, like some people like to use Calendly. So like, I mean, it's great stuff, right? And the really cool thing is it's only getting better, right? Yeah, well, I think in recruiting, the ethics stuff is a lot about a recruiter wants to make a fee. And you're talking about human, right? So the big ethical questions in recruiting is like, is that person really suited to that role? Or you know the boss there and they're a nightmare. How happy are you to push this person to take that job so you can make some money, right? That's the things. And I think a lot of the time in recruiting, like certainly with, you know, you have contingent recruiting and you have retained search. With contingent recruiting, the way the incentives are set up is it's no placement, no fee. So you find that the recruiters, and the global average, by the way, there was a study done a while ago, don't ask me which one because I can't remember, but the average contingent recruiter places about 18% of the jobs they work on. 18%, that's low, right? Yeah, 82% of the time they might as well be sleeping because they're not making any money. But the point of that is that they have to just get someone a job. You know, like it doesn't matter if they're perfect, it doesn't matter if it's right for them. And so that's, I think, when ethically they're like, oh, you know, should I send the person? Is it really right for them? And there isn't really, and they don't really have the time to think about whether it's really right for the client and for the candidate. I really love retained search, right? Because as a recruiter, we get paid, right? Like we get paid up front, a retainer, there's different points throughout your third, or whatever, however you structure it, but we get money up front. The minute that the company commits to paying us up front, the sales part, that's just finished now, right? All we're concerned about is finding the right person for the right job. And suddenly it's just, and that's it. It's a really lovely place to be, because you can really take the time to understand what people want. You can take the time to get to know the client, and you can do the best job that you can of facilitating that. And if it's not right for someone, you just say, like, walk away, like, don't take it, because you want to have a win-win-win, right? You want everyone to be happy. And that's a nice place to be. And that's why I wanted to build a retained search firm versus doing anything contingent, because you're able to do that. One other thing we do is also, mostly it's like you end up getting a percentage of salary. A lot of recruiters charge. So another really nice way to do it is a fixed fee. So you don't get incentivized to get the candidate more money. It's a fixed fee with the company, and you know where you stand. And then you can really focus on just doing a really great consultative job. So that's the answer to your question. I like that. It's a gift. Giving feedback's a gift. That's how I think about it. You're helping people on their journey. It's good for people to learn and develop. I think the trick with feedback is actually having to give it to someone. Like a big complaint of people about recruiters is not receiving any feedback, right? And I know it's hard for people, right? People don't want to give negative feedback. They don't want to tell someone they've not got a job, especially if they've invested all the time and stuff. But for me, it's a real gift to give it. And also, if one of your candidates has gone through a few interviews, think about it, right? Like, you're not paying the candidate to go through the interview process, right? They spend an hour thinking about it, an hour doing it, an hour downloading. That's 3 hours in minimum. Maybe they've had another interview, that's another 6 hours. Third interview, 9 hours. So the least you can do is pay them with feedback. Like the minimum is to pay them with feedback. And that's how I think about it. It's a gift, it helps them on their journey. So I think of it as a positive. Yeah, I was been racking my brains for one of those. Do you know what? I can't think of a memorable one, but I think there's a lot of bad ones. And again, like, a lot of the time can I just say the bad ones, because they stick out most. It's always the bad experiences that stick out most. Is the amount of messages I get on LinkedIn or email of, like, literally, Lewis, I'm looking for a job, here's my CV, or here's my resume. And you're like, is that a good way to build a relationship with someone? Not really. I think if you're looking for a job or trying to get in front of a recruiter, at least pretend to be nice, because recruiters are humans too, we have feelings. Pretend to be nice. Hey, how you doing? Saw your content, checked out your podcast. I could really do with your help. Would you mind spending a certain number of minutes, like jumping on a call with me and stuff? So for me, that's the big thing. It's just like, treat people well, treat your recruiters like humans, and you'll probably have a way better success rate. For the recruiter, probably you go through the mud, right? Don't you, in a thing. So yeah, when the candidate gets an offer, and they accept the job, and it's like, yes, and they're happy, and everyone's happy. That's a really nice kind of end point, isn't it?